My name is Brandon. This is our podcast. We are not afraid to bring in this episode from the No Man's Fantasy podcast. Like I said, my name is Brandon. I will be your host, but I'm not alone here in the jungle. I'm also here with Owl Face, Eric.
I don't know.
Which one of us is Owlface? We should go to the forest to seek a new beginning.
And Bald Monkey, Dave.
No, I get it now. The heart for Smoke Frog, the liver for Curl Nose, Cocoa Leaf, the ears, and for you blunted, the balls.
The balls.
Get it to him.
Poor guy.
The one and only funny moment.
There was a
In
couple
this
funny
movie.
moments, like in the beginning sequence.
In the beginning.
Moment of levity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, before shit goes down.
Yeah. So those are quotes from the movie Apocalypto, a movie that I picked. I saw years ago because it came out in what, 2005, 2006?
2006.
Yeah,
looks
2006.
Like. Yep.
Yeah. It was directed by Mel Gibson.
Yes.
So, right. So I knew you guys hadn't seen it.
Well,
I had an idea where this episode would go, but I just want to shake things up a little bit because I think there's an interesting conversation that we could have about just the hell did we just watch? So
it's very
I think there's going to be a very interesting discussion for this one. I don't know exactly where it's going to go. I have some ideas just based on some of the comments we were making in Discord, but we'll see.
right. Yeah, like before we started recording this, Dave's wife popped on the video stream and said that was not a good movie. I did not enjoy that 2 hours.
ruining the 2 hours of my life.
That's what it was.
She just looked at her phone pretty much the whole movie. She was up for the whole thing.
I'm shocked that she even stuck in there at all, because my wife dipped out like half hour in. She was like, "Nah, I'm done with this."
Yeah.
The village rating is probably like I've seen a lot of shit on screen and it's hard to watch.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I watched it with my wife when and I said like, "Hey, do you want to rewatch it with me?" She's like, "No, that is not. Some things don't need to be seen more than once."
I'll leave that where it is.
I don't blame you. I do it for the podcast. Do it for the listeners, you guys. So okay, but I did put it out on Twitter, and a couple people did reply about this movie, and I want to say they were pretty positive.
Yeah, overall, pretty positive. If you want to follow us over there on Twitter at Nomads of Fantasy, I assure you we are funny. Says, great movie. Simply, great movie. No other context needed. Review It Yourself says, absolutely fantastic film.
Okay.
And R.D. Fine, friend of the show and friend of our Discord, I watched Apocalypto when it was new to HBO. I didn't know much about it going in. It was packed with gripping brutality shot against beautiful locales. I enjoyed it a lot. Which, I mean,
Good.
yeah, this movie it was critically acclaimed. Like, it was well received when it first came out. But we'll get into it, but there's some stuff around the production, and there's criticisms around it and everything. But I think overall, I mean, it has pretty good ratings on Rotten Tomatoes, and ratings overall out there. It seemed like people generally remember this film fondly.
Right. Yeah. Well, before we go into the jungle and talk about Apocalypto, Dave, if we look at the schedule, I know we have a catch-up coming up next.
Yeah, we got to catch up next week to see what we've all been kind of screwing around with this month, watching, reading, checking out. After that, in February, we're going to watch Old Boy.
I am so excited about Old Boy.
Right.
I don't
I don't know anything about it.
I don't want to hype it up too much, just because I watched this a couple years ago and I really enjoyed it, and it just came up in conversation on the Discord one day, and I'm like, we should just really do Old Boy for the podcast.
I am so ready to watch non-American movies too.
Is it foreign?
I love it.
Yeah, it's Korean. And the reason I brought it up is because it just came to Netflix like a month ago.
Okay.
So I saw it came to Netflix. I'm like, dude, we got to watch Old Boy. Because I had to watch it in some weird, sketchy way. It wasn't really available for streaming when I watched it. So now that it's on Netflix, I'm like, should get in there. I think you guys will like it.
I don't know what it's about. I just know it. A lot of people liked it. So much so that in America they tried to make it, but that was not a good.
No.
No.
Yeah.
I didn't see it, but I've heard not good things about it.
Yeah.
I've heard
What else?
little to
What
none.
else was on the schedule?
After that, towards the end of February, we're going to be watching Green Knight.
Yeah,
This is a
the
Brandon
movie I got halfway
recommendation.
through on. I was watching on an airplane, and I'm like, "This is really good. I think I should stop and experience this with the guys." So
I've never seen that. I don't even know what it is. So I'm excited for that.
yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
So it's just a month of unknowns for me. So I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to
Yep.
trying some new flavors this month.
hey,
So
it's the
see
nomad way, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So,
Okay.
Yeah, just keep an eye on the Twitters and on websites, nomadsfantasy.com for any schedule updates going forward.
And join our Discord if you want to stay up
Boom.
to date on all of our latest stuff. The nomadsoffantasy.com/Discord.
Yeah, people have been popping in, joining. Some of them are active, some of them are a little bit here or there. It's great. It's a good vibe. So I definitely encourage people to just hop in, create an account, and just go in there. You just listen and talk to people. You don't have to make comments unless you want to.
I was gonna say, you could lurk.
But-
You could just read through our
Yeah.
conversations. It's
We got
fine.
memes,
Yeah.
photos of our lunches in there. We got.
I mean,
news,
there
we
are
got-
certain people who
stories,
only
artwork.
interact with like certain channels. Yeah, like the art channel. Like
Yeah.
we have a couple in our Discord that pretty much exclusively post in the art channel. I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's great. It's
Nice to
great.
see people working on it.
Everyone's great. So can't praise our community enough. Our village. Of
Yeah.
Well,
Our
we got
modest
a
little
better
village in the
this little
forest.
one. Yeah.
yeah. But I don't know if you guys hear this, but I hear some rumbling over there in the forage. Those leaves are moving, and I think people are trying to tell us that Act 2 is coming. So
Mm.
let's leave Act 1, and then when we come back, we'll build a little fire and we'll get into Apocalypto. Welcome back to Act 2. We have set up a nice little fire here in our village, and we're all gathering around.
About to have the
Dave is
elder
drinking.
tell us a story.
Yeah.
Too many stories to tell.
Dude, let's get into it. Okay. I just want to hear your reaction to this movie. Let's start with Eric, then Dave, and then I'll talk about my rewatch.
Well, we've all been
Because neither of you have seen this.
No.
except me, Right.
Nope. I have never seen this movie before. Dave has.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Oh, you
I
Interesting.
didn't realize that until I started the movie.
Okay.
Oh, interesting.
All these brain cells are reconnecting and clearing out the malted hops and bong resin out of my brain, and I
There you
finally,
go.
I recognized certain scenes, but I
Okay.
was not. I didn't remember a lot of this, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
as usually
me
goes
either,
with me.
honestly.
I'm completely fresh eyes. Like I said, I
Yeah.
think I've heard of this movie at least. Like heard of it in passing. Probably with like Oscar talk and stuff. Like it was nominated for a couple Oscars. But I mean, this was back in 2006, so I was, I don't know, 13 years old. So I probably would not have seen this movie at that time. So I had heard of it, but I didn't really know at all what it's about. Just based on the title, I always assumed it was like an apocalypse movie, you know? So I was surprised at what I saw going in. Like I didn't know it was about, the Mayans or, this tribe and the story of this guy. I had no idea about any of this stuff going in. I I would say that I don't know. I enjoyed parts of it. Parts of it were hard to watch. Parts of it, the action was good. Parts of it were a little like predictable and like convenient. So there's a lot of mixed emotions coming off of this one. But overall, I think it's a well-made movie, and I don't regret watching it. And I will say that I overall enjoyed my time with it.
Would you watch it again?
I don't really think I need to watch it
You
again.
need to?
No.
Probably not.
I don't know ever the occasion where I would be like, yeah, let's watch Apocalypto again.
Right. Unless it's the last 20 minutes.
Right, exactly. So.
Yeah, you mean the Home Alone part of the movie?
Right.
Or
Act 3
I was
basically Home Alone.
I was thinking
Jungle,
Predator
motherfucker.
the whole time too.
Oh, yeah.
Like in the
Right.
jungle, yeah. Yep.
Especially the traps he had set up.
Okay.
yeah.
So, David, what did you think?
Like I said, as I started watching it, I started getting flashbacks, and then I saw the girlfriend in the pit in the thing, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I remember what kind of happens here, and vaguely comes back. But I thought it was, I mean, yeah, Eric kind of put it well. It's hard to watch in parts. Parts are a little drawn out. I don't know. I don't know if this needed to be as long as it did.
It was a long movie, over 2 hours.
Yeah.
It is very long. I mean, they don't really get to the city.
It's like an hour in, probably.
Dude, it's like
Mayan
there's
city
I mean
until,
there's
like,
two
almost
halves.
more than half.
There's two halves of this movie essentially. There's the half of the village, them going to the village or them going to the city, and then him on the run. There's like two distinct
three
halves.
acts.
Yeah, 3 acts really.
Should be.
Yep.
But I don't know. I started thinking about it and researching it a little more and looking at it, and like Mel Gibson directed this, looking at some of his other. If it depends the lens that you're looking through this at, because if you're thinking that it's historically accurate, then it's less of a good movie. If you think of it more as one of Mel Gibson's historical fiction movies, which he kind of bends the truth, and years are off, and things like that, then I think it's more enjoyable when you realize that, hey, like, a lot of these things are embellished or made up for plot lines and stuff like that. Like, Mayans weren't actually that murder hungry, and smallpox didn't exist then. When you see the little disease girl, like, the Spanish people aren't there yet. How does the little girl have smallpox? Like, there's a lot of little weird
Well, we don't.
things, but
Yeah.
on the whole, no, like I already find that it's like a beautifully shot movie. I love a lot of the on location shots.
Mhm.
some of them are, some of the sets are super cool with the temples and the city and all that recreation stuff. So I do love to get like a fresh take on a new culture, because there's no real like Mayan, Incan, Aztec movies being made anywhere. Like this is
and I
kind
think
of a
that's what people
one-of-a-kind
like.
thing.
People like that though about this movie, because all the actors they're not American actors or anything.
No.
Like, they're all I want to say they're all Mexican, but they could be from other areas. But I do know that they were hired specifically to like kind of, which I appreciate. Like I thought that was
Yeah,
nice.
it makes that
And, like,
portrayal
you
more
said it-
accurate.
You said it before, like having a movie take place that's not in the United States or whatever, and all the actors speak Yucatan Mayan.
I was gonna say, having them speak
whole
the
movie.
language definitely made it more immersive. Like if they were just speaking English, I wouldn't have been it would have been weird. Yes,
it
was a good choice.
Ear stretchers in, being like, "Hey Harold, how are you today?"
Right?
I know, right?
Jaguar Paw, get your ass over here.
But like Ridley Scott just came out with the Napoleon movie, and he speaks English in that movie.
Yeah,
Which,
as Napoleon, he should have an
I think
Italian accent.
they're
historically speaking, but
they're just afraid to make
French, Brandon. Yeah.
But he was raised. But he's got no. But I think he was raised in Italy. Or
Oh,
something
really?
Like that.
Okay, there you go.
I didn't know that either.
They're just afraid of the attention span of the American audience, where it's like, I don't want to read subtitles, But I mean, I've said it before. I'm accustomed to reading subtitles anyways nowadays, because I watch everything with subtitles. So it being in a different language wasn't distracting at all. And I think what helps it even more is a lot of the dialogue is so simple. This movie is not dialogue heavy at all.
No.
So they're talking to each other. They're having conversations, but they're not long drawn out scenes of two characters conversing with each other. It's like, and most of this movie is a chase movie, so you don't get much dialogue during those scenes. So having it be in its native language, I think was a good choice, especially since, the dialogue is on the lighter side.
For sure.
Right. Yeah. So, well, my second viewing was really just a refreshment on what I saw. The first time I watched it, I don't know what I expected, but I didn't expect this movie, this story. It was very dark and
Intense
cruel and brutal, mean. And I know, even at the time I knew, like, this is kind of exaggerated, like they're obviously embellishing on some stuff. But I just appreciated a different take on a hero's story, because one thing that I think does not age well, two things. The animal puppets.
They use like animatronics and puppets, especially the Jaguar was very noticeably looked like a Muppet getting murdered.
It looked like a Muppet the way it moved, so stiff. And the plot devices, it was just very, like you said, Home Alone a little bit in the third act, probably, Dave, and which I agree, but it's just like, and then this, and then this, and then this, and then I'm like, man, like, all right, like the third act, like he's running away from those guys, climbs up into a tree, and he happens to be attacked by a jaguar. And then, like, he finds, like, I don't know, he falls into, like, a pit of quicksand, mud or whatever, And it's just like, man, these things would never happen to people.
Did anybody die in the mud?
No,
you thought somebody would.
Yeah, I thought they were gonna fall into the trap. But the whole purpose of that scene, I mean, there's obviously a purpose behind that scene. Like, that's when he that's like his transformative moment where he becomes Jaguar Paw. Like, he's black like a jaguar. Right.
Once you get in familiar land, sure.
This is exactly when I was thinking about, like, Predator. Because in the original Predator movie, Arnold covers himself with mud, and that's when he starts setting up his traps and actually, like, going head to head to fight the Predator.
He goes on the offensive.
The hunters become the hunted in this movie,
which is a great feeling, especially after how wickedly evil these guys are.
Absolutely.
No regard for human life. Like, we talked about, like, it is nice to have been born in the 1980s, 1990s.
I was just gonna say this.
It's an amazing thing.
Dude, I was Sorry,
I'm
just
sorry. Go ahead. No.
just a side note. I went for a run today because it was sort of slightly warmer-ish today. It was 35 degrees.
Yeah.
But I was
Right.
like, I ran around, my block twice. It's probably like 2 miles. And I'm huffing and puffing by the end. And I'm thinking about this movie in the back of my mind the whole time. I'm like, these dudes were running for miles and miles, sprinting full speed. They're fucking, it's just their
That's all they
life,
do is
survival.
cardio.
So I'm like, I'm here, I'm running barely 2 miles and I like dying. I don't know.
I
That
was
was
always thinking about that. The zombie apocalypse. That's rule number 1 in Zombieland is cardio.
cardio. That's right.
You gotta
Cardio.
keep it up.
So I just want to take a pause here and just kind of say, because we went through our reactions to this movie, and if you haven't seen Apocalypto, we're going to get into spoiling this movie. I don't know how much we'll actually talk about the movie because
The plot's really simple.
it's kind of
It
like
is
what
pretty
Dave was,
basic.
yeah. So go watch it. Just know that it's just very dark, and it's a hard watch, especially with people who can't handle really dark things.
It's not a
So,
feel-good movie, that's for sure.
yeah. But for everyone else who has seen it, we just want to kind of reflect on, like, to me, seeing this movie, I just appreciate things, and I don't know if this movie was meant to do that, but for a movie about survival and standing up and fighting for your life and what you love and all that stuff, like, I don't know, man. Could you fucking imagine? Could you fucking imagine living with these people for generations, and then you just
the
wake up
woods.
one morning and you hear a dog get killed, and all of a sudden, what was that about? And next thing you know, people are coming by in your sleep with these
Slave collar
leashes,
thing.
Yeah.
slave collars that they're just wrapping around people and pulling them out and
Ripping people out of
killing
their
people
homes.
and raping
Yep.
women, and then just. And that's just that, and that shit did happen just in the world, just in the past. Like, human beings have been doing this for a long
Still
time.
does.
And it still does.
Mhm.
It still does. But we don't have that worry. We're like, oh man, the internet's so slow today,
Right. First
And it's
world
just
problems.
first
Yeah.
world problems, man. So I don't know. I just appreciate the life I have. That's
Part of
all.
me, like,
Thank you,
I had to put on
Apocalypto.
my.
Thank you, Mel Gibson.
I had to put on my blinders for that too, because they take them and they slave everybody up and they walk for like 2 days and they're at this giant mecca of civilization. And I'm like, dude, nobody's walked 2 days in that direction or 2 days in this direction to see what was going on.
No, he's
I
got
thought
his
about
forest. Listen, they know their forest, and that's where
Yeah.
that's their domain. That's where they live. My father hunted this forest before me, and my children will hunt this forest after me.
If there's a city
Yeah.
that close and that many people around, it should have been like,
There's a lot of convenient things in this movie.
Right.
Yeah.
That is like some Hollywood shit there. It's like it goes somewhat accurate, and then some things just, yes. That's
yeah, some of
very
them.
convenient. Like, you guys have lived here for fucking generations and never noticed there's a fucking giant civilization building stuff out of
Right.
stone. Like,
But-
2 days walk.
At your point, Brandon, like, there's some debate on to when this movie actually takes place. The Spanish conquistadors arrived there
1500s?
in early 1500s.
Yeah, it's supposed
But
to
the
be.
actual fall of the Mayan civilization was in 900.
Yeah,
So there's like a 600
Well, it
year
started then.
difference.
Yeah.
Could be. I mean, and it could be like a different town, or it could be like a different area
Right.
of whatever. Which
Right.
maybe they hadn't heard of the Spanish, but that's. I was thinking about, like, if it's 1500, the Spanish got there. We'll just say it happens right, in that
Right.
area.
But they're
That's-
still like,
That's literally only like 500 years ago, 600 years ago.
but
And
like,
then you think
ye-
about, hold on, you think about average human life expectancy. Now it's like 70s, 80s. We'll say it's like 50, just to be, gracious with that. That's only 10 people ago. Like, you can count on your hands, like, how many
I think
people
about
that
that.
ago. Like,
dude. Yeah, I mean,
great.
well, think about how
around
young
then.
America
Fuck.
is, and how Native Americans ruled America before it was discovered by the Spanish and
4 people ago.
colonized. Exactly. So yeah, it is
That's
pretty
insane
crazy to
when you
think about.
it.
Yeah.
Like, like you can probably look back and see how far, like, and we suck at record keeping in our generations and our family trees now, but
Yeah.
like just going forward in the future with data and we got ancestry.com and all that bullshit, like our great grandkids are gonna be looking back and be like, can't you believe those barbaric 2000s that our great grandparents were living in and stuff like
Those
that.
barbaric 2000s.
Dude, they definitely will. They're gonna be like, "What is it?" It's like, "Oh, I was like in this yard and I dug up an old iPhone. Oh, so plug it in." And they plug it in. It's just like, look at
Wait,
this
you
woman. She
have to
must have
use
been
your hands
famous.
with that?
There's so many photos of her.
Right.
It's just tons and tons of photos of her doing the same fucking face. You know,
they wouldn't even know how the UI works. They would try and be using their mental brain implants to use the
Oh,
phone and be like, "What
right.
is this piece of junk?" And they
It just
also
reminds me of
stick.
Back to the
Touchscreen.
Future,
Oh.
when they
Yeah.
he's doing the old arcade
baby
game.
game.
You have to use your hands.
Yes. Well,
It's-
it's not the most accurate movie.
No.
There's been
But
some
it does-
controversy too over like the depiction of the Mayan civilization
Mayans
and
like how
because like the Mayans were supposed to be like this advanced people, advanced in like science and math and medicine.
They did kill people, but they killed their elites. They sacrificed their elites. It wasn't
Right. It's
going
more
around capturing people.
Yeah, I mean, all of that stuff aside, it is weird that some of that stuff is inaccurate. Which again, there's been like back and forth between different Mayan experts of what is accurate and what's not. But I mean, I think the whole sacrificial thing is that stuff was fine.
It's a big plot. It's a plot device.
Yeah,
to get
exactly. It's
you
exactly
emotionally concerned about our hero and his friends and his tribe. And
I'm just
this
like-
movie wouldn't be as emotional if it didn't have
Right.
that stuff.
Well, the whole time I'm thinking they're up on the pedestal and Jaguar Paw is next in line. He's about to get fucking sacrificed. I'm like, how? I'm like, I know he's gonna get out of this, but how are they gonna write this into the movie where he magically escapes and gets back to his family? Because I'm like, he doesn't.
I thought he was gonna pull someone else's hand while he
Right.
was about to be stabbed, and then
I thought he was gonna like end up like running away, and fucking roll down the stairs, some crazy shit. But yeah, the solar eclipse comes and everybody stops, and the gods are satiated. They've fed enough they've gotten enough blood for today.
dude.
But the Mayans that's the thing I saw. I was watching a history video, like the priest guy. He's like a TV angelical guy standing on top. The way he's like talking to the crowd and stuff.
He's channeling the divine.
But him and the other guy, the leader or whatever, they would know that eclipse is coming because
They have their calendars.
Yeah, the Mayans had their calendars.
They're
They
all
were
up there
weirdly
smiling and
active.
laughing, dude. They're like, it's like.
Well, it's
they
all
are totally
well, the
being
way-
It's like
manipulated.
WWE though, probably.
It's
like,
all for show.
They know what's gonna come.
It's
Yeah.
all
They're
for show
drugged up.
because
they just.
they're trying, these people, this is supposed to be depicting sort of near the fall of Mayan civilization. So things are going downhill. So they are just trying to, give the people some sort of hope. So they're doing these sacrifices to be like, okay, if we do these sacrifices, the gods will help us, even though they might know like this is all bullshit. They just have to give the people hope,
Plant your crop somewhere else, dummy. Like what's going on?
Well,
Yeah, all
they
their
did a
corn's
really-
fucking dead. Yeah, got piles of mass graves,
Right.
bodies everywhere.
Dude, yeah. Yeah, but I don't know. I guess the mass grave thing wasn't really a Mayan thing. It was more of an Aztec thing, possibly. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm trying
there-
to look at what
Like I
they
said,
actually
there's
got right and wrong.
a lot of back and forth, which it's weird because Mel Gibson and the other, I forgot who co-directed this with him. I forgot his name.
Yeah,
I don't know if
he had somebody to help co-write all this. Yeah,
but
it was Farhad Safina.
they were
Safina?
like really trying to be they hired someone to help them make decisions about things that would be historically accurate and like things that happen in the story make sense while also still having some creative freedom. So it's weird that these controversies came up even though they had an expert to try to help them with this historical accuracy of some things, but obviously creative freedom can get in the way. You got to make a good story. You got to make a beautiful movie to look at. Like that's one of the things going for this movie is like the set pieces. Like you can't deny how awesome like that pyramid looked, and like just
Oh, dude.
fucking the silhouette of it, with the solar eclipse. Like that's on the cover of the fucking movie poster. Like it looks great. But yeah, great looking movie, great, and it's cool to know that they actually built these sets, because that was another thing that Mel Gibson said.
Did they?
Yeah.
Okay, I was
so
curious. It looked real, and I assumed it was not real.
that was
but
another
it
thing Mel Gibson
was.
wanted to do with this movie. He was like, in the early 2000s era, everything was riddled with CG. So he's like, we want to
Good for
build
him.
all our sets. We want everything to be authentic. And they filmed on location in like Mexico, like the jungles of, Mesoamerica. So it's cool.
You don't get to see that too, and like give a shout out to like all the actors too, because like Rudy
The
Youngblood
actors.
as
All those people, everybody's
Every
face.
single one
I
of them, dude.
paused and I looked. I'm like, my God, everyone.
It's
The
got something going
costume
on.
team, that team crushed it.
Oh, yeah.
Man. It was really good.
It was
Like,
all believable
I mean-
too. Like it didn't look like, it looked accurate to what they're supposed to, to their tribes and what they're.
Well, we think they should.
Right. That's true. That's true.
In our heads, that's what they would like. I saw something with like not meant they wouldn't be wearing jade as much, and little stuff, and some of the walls that they had some of the paintings on that showed like the sacrifices and stuff. Those were specifically made up for the movie. Like,
I mean, they even said they weren't trying to make a documentary. They were trying to make a movie.
But,
so like
even like the old lady that was like harassing the dude to have sex with her daughter so she could have grandkids. Like,
yeah,
everybody. Blunted. Jaguar Paw was Rudy Youngblood in real life, which is a badass name.
right?
Yeah.
The main bad guy that was like the main slave capturer guy.
Yeah.
Raul Max Turillo.
Okay.
Played Zero. His name was Zero Wolf. If you didn't get that from the.
Okay.
He's been in a whole bunch of stuff. He's been in the new Blue Beetle movie that just came out.
Okay.
He was in Riddick. Everybody needs it. Everyone needs him in Riddick. But he was in the Mayans show on FX.
I noticed one of the guys' name is Jonathan, the tall guy.
Was it?
Yeah, Blunted was his name was like
yeah.
It was very.
He looks Native American too, but
okay.
But the main slaver bad guy, I thought that dude was awesome. Like,
good villain.
He's
the guy
very good villain. Yeah.
The guy that kept calling Jaguar Paw almost. I was like, what a great name! What a great villain.
He's because he's such a slimy fuck. Like you hate him. You want to see him just get stabbed.
Yes,
dude. I love
like a Lord of the Rings goblin to me.
Oh yeah, I kept looking at his little bridge of nose fucking thing.
He has a crooked nose. It was very interesting. Great villain. Sorry.
Yeah. No. A lot of these No, sorry, God.
I was just gonna say that was one of my favorite scenes in the movie. It was when they had their final showdown. He lured them into the trap and just fucking they went 1-on-1.
Gave him the slide move.
Dude, that was like it's like a fucking straight out of a video game. The slide tackle with the grab of the weapon, whips around, fucking cracks him in the head. Like, listen, it's not realistic, but it was cool.
It was cool. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, another thing on I guess a lot of the Mayan and Aztec, like some of the clothing that they would wear, they kind of mixed up, or some of like the haircuts were different or whatever. But some of those fucking haircuts that those dudes got,
dude,
like, they got like shaved like up and like spikes
in
their hair, and they had like the
they were all different too, like
bowl cut. Like,
each one of them had a unique look, which I love that. It made them feel like a special character. They weren't just kind of in the background. Like each of them was distinct.
That's a really good point. Usually people like the main characters have some kind of identifiable feature, but like everyone in this movie had some kind of customized hair.
And like those body markings too. Did you notice those? Like everyone had
scarring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
maybe
a cool,
not on the face
cool
so
look.
much is not as cool, but
some of them did on their head.
I get
like
some lines on my ribs or something. Get some lines, get some. I don't know what any of them mean or anything like that, but
no, cool design choices though.
Everywhere, especially when they get into the city and you start to see the rich, extravagant costumes of like the city upper echelon people. You get to see the people digging in the lime quarry that are just covered
puking
head
up
to toe
blood.
white. Just
Yep.
yeah.
Oh God,
Like,
Jesus!
Horrible way to fucking live.
That old man, like he has like no job, he has no purpose, and he's just like, save me. And this is how you
Dude,
end.
his arm was like as big as my finger, like as wide and as thick as my finger. It is insane. Like, where do you find that guy to like
Right.
hire him for movies? Somebody get this man a sandwich.
Right, he's so skinny.
Love of God.
I loved that lead into the city though. Like it was kind of long and drawn out, but I think it worked because this whole time when they're on this journey to the city, you don't know where they're going or why they're going there. You know that they got captured, they're fucked. Maybe they're gonna be slaves because they hint at a couple different things where they could be going.
I just assumed slaves. That's what I thought. Like they're just fucking.
I thought they were gonna drop them off in like the lime, fields, like Dave was saying, because that's where they went through first. But no, they keep going through that, and then they start to get into the city, and they start to see all these people gathered around for some reason, and then these ladies start slapping blue paint on them. We're like, what's all this about? Yeah, and then you see them like it's just ominous. Something bad is gonna happen. And then they start. You see the fucking pyramid and
hieroglyphics. And you can the storyboard about what's going to happen the rest of the.
Yep, you're like, yep, okay. Now I see where this is going. So.
Oh, dude, there's like people doing these dances on the bottom of the pyramid of the bottom of the.
Oh yeah.
Just
with the
music,
nets,
and then they're like with the nets, and they catch the heads.
To catch the head. I'm like, oh my God, like. It's
weird. It's brutal.
Like, I don't know, like. I mean, obviously, I'm not from that time, but like, and I know this still happens in some places of the world, but how do you kill somebody, cut off their head, and kick their body down these steps? Like, you just don't think that that's just like. I understand they already had slaves. I understand that they're all doing all these fucked up things to these peoples, but it's just like nobody's looking around like, hey, you know what? Maybe this is why we don't have crops growing. Maybe we're mean.
More sacrifices so the gods will bless us with rain.
And then, like, as you're getting your head about to be chopped off, you're, like, looking at, like, a fat kid laughing at you and a girl with no eyebrows, like, being bored.
Oh, don't forget, before you get your head chopped off, you get your heart ripped out of your chest, and they make you look at it. Yeah.
Jesus. And then they burn it on a fire.
You got to put it on the fire, and the old man's got to inhale it.
Inhale the heart juices off the heart paint.
Just
it is
rough, but I think that's the point.
Tough to watch the brutality.
Most movies will skip through that. They put you in there like, here you're tied up. This guy's weak. Like he's slowing you down. You got to stick up for each other.
When they're doing the beheadings, they use the first-person camera. Like, movies don't often do that a lot.
Yeah, that was cool.
Even when the one dude's head gets cut off, like, the camera rolls around, like, it's the head on the ground. Like, shit like that is meant to put you in the place of the movie and make you feel what they're feeling, which... Fuck.
Yes, and obviously, the brutality of, like, that stuff was, it was fine. I think... Obviously, I'm sure it's where your wives also dipped out was just all the kids that were endangered in this movie.
It's not even that the kids are like left behind.
No,
they follow.
That's so sad.
No, that is so
it's like
sad.
The saddest thing I've ever seen.
Heartbreaking.
Because they're following for as long as they can, and then they get to this river, which is fucking impassable for the kids. They'll get instantly swept away. In that moment,
I'll help you guys.
What?
I'll help you with this. Just think about this. At the end of the movie, Jaguar Paw and his family, right, are fine. He's gonna find the girl who said, "I will take care of all the kids." So he's gonna find them. He's gonna take them in and find all those kids. And then the old lady that wanted to get her, her grandkids, she's not doing anything. She's gonna find her way back to.
She did get let go. Yeah.
They're all going to do just fine and hide in the forest for generations.
Until the Spaniards come to fucking colonize and kill everybody.
90% of everybody dies of smallpox.
Yeah.
But I forgot about that part stuff. Like, I forgot about that kid stuff in my second watching.
The fucking bad, like the omen. She's like foretelling the prophecy. I'm like, this is fucked up, man.
Oh, the little girl that's like sick.
Yeah.
It's a smallpox girl.
Yeah. What happened there though? Like her people die and she's just left alone, and she just
She's
becomes
just
like,
the last one alive. Yeah.
She's just diseased.
but
I
she just like goes for their soul.
I was gonna say, I don't know why all of a sudden
Suffer
she's
for your
like possessed.
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe she was a secret oracle, and she was just foretelling the future.
She's too clean. She's too clean. I don't know if I like that scene. It was like
Yeah.
not very believable.
Yeah.
I was waiting for
So-
them to murder her, but thankfully they didn't.
So the eclipse happens. They're like, no more sacrificing, and then he's like, well, what do I do with these guys that I captured? Like, just dispose of them. So he's like, all right, you guys know what to do. So there's a subplot which I kind of liked. I forgot about this as well. You have the main villain. You have the other guy who's like tormenting and calling Jaguar Paw almost. You know that he's gonna get his comeuppance. But there's another little twerp in there, and it's really not his fault. But he's just being bred into this system, which is the main villain's kid.
Yep.
Yes.
Right. So he's being trained. You see him because his father, Jaguar Paw's father, was killed because he fucked up. You know, and like the guy, like what's the other guy's name? The villain that killed Jaguar Paw's father. Slices his throat.
I don't know what this is. They don't have pictures with anybody's names.
Right. Well, that anyways. He kills the father, and you see how like that father and son was like ended, right? But he tried to pass on like, don't be afraid, you can do this.
Mm-hmm.
But then you're seeing the main villain and his kid, how he's trying to show off to his dad. I'm one of you. He gets the knife and all that stuff. But yeah, that little twerp gets his comeuppance too, because they're trying to. What they do is when they're done with the slaves, instead of setting them free, they kind of set them free, but it's like a sport.
Right,
They
like
just shoot
if you can
arrows
make
and
it,
javelins.
if you can make it, you'll be free. But you're probably not gonna make it,
But the first two guys go, and like you dummies run straight.
dude. Yeah, serpentine,
They don't know.
serpentine. That's why I was thinking that the whole time. Like fucking run back and forth, and then Jaguar Paw does it. I'm like, that's how you do it.
Yeah, him and the other guy like, oh, I dig it. Too bad the other guy got like a fucking arrow
Right in the back of the
head.
through the mouth.
Through the
Oh,
Right at the camera.
That was not good.
it was
Yeah,
rough.
but that's like typical how like you knew that guy wasn't gonna make it.
No.
But fucking Jaguar Paw, he got like one in the side. Like he got
Got
I don't know
fucked
how
up.
He
Got
survived.
popped a couple times. The one under the really annoying like lieutenant guy, his name is Middle Eye.
Middle
can't
eye.
find
Middle
Son,
Eye.
though.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Middle Eye is a jerk.
He's got that shit-eating face that you just want to rub his nose in it. But he's also in a lot of stuff too.
But yeah, that point is kind of what drives the second half of the movie, because Jaguar Paw kills the main villain's son, and then it's fucking on like Donkey Kong after Jaguar Paw runs away, and then the second half of the movie is just a chase movie. That's all it is. Like they're chasing Jaguar Paw down through the forest, through the woods. Jaguar Paw's injured. He's fucking running, sprinting through the woods after he got a fucking arrow to the side. Yeah, so I don't know. I liked the second half of the movie. Like it was good, but I think we've said it already, but it felt like it dragged out a little bit longer than it needed to. Like after a little while, he could have had his like transformative experience and then turning on them to his advantage a little bit sooner. But and then there's obviously some.
You gotta take them out one at a time, like in
Right.
Die Hard.
Well, that's what I'm
let
counting
them
them.
in the body, and then they're like, "Oh fuck!" And then they have to keep going. They have to decide if they want to keep going, chasing after this dude.
One of the dudes
I
says
didn't
it's
mind any of
like
that. I
one of
thought
the
that was cool.
yeah. One of the dudes says I did like that. Right, it's a bad omen.
The bee nest. Like
Dude.
how's that?
Well, it starts with the jaguar first.
Yeah.
Right. He runs with a jaguar. This is the bad omen.
Yep. And then the fucking was it the snake bite after that? And then it was the bee. He threw the fucking bees at him. Yeah.
Because he was I think he was on the other side of the mud when they stopped. Maybe
Yeah.
that's why they used the mud.
Yes. It was a barrier.
Then he threw the beehive over the mud, and then he just scattered them all over. That would
Oh my
fucking
God.
hurt just having a just a whole nest of hornets just chucked at you and landing
They're all
at your
fucked up
feet.
from it, which is pretty cool. I like that. Like right after that, he's got these really cool poison darts. He takes like a frog,
Yeah.
and
He
he
knows,
like
yeah.
he takes like these big thorns and he like makes these darts. And
Well,
then he
it's
just,
cool. It's cool because
Yeah, it was cool.
I like that. That's one of my favorite moments in the movie is like where he realizes, like he takes his father's advice of not being afraid anymore. Like, don't be
Turns around
afraid.
and goes after that.
Right. Like he has all of this
so
knowledge. He knows the forest. He knows like he has the resources he needs to defeat these guys, and he just uses all of, you know, his knowledge of everything that his dad taught him, and he fucking takes these dudes down.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that stuff is badass. I wrote down this would make a very good video game.
Oh yeah.
Playing
100%,
Jaguar
dude.
Paw, fighting off these guys, because
Just do it
everything
like
he does, like find a fucking beehive and throw it at people. Come on, it's
make it
ridiculous,
an
but
asymmetrical
it's
one
cool.
where you got like 4 dudes hunting the one guy. And like
You could do that, or it's like a fucking. I mean,
it's Uncharted game or whatever.
Hitman. I'm thinking like Hitman.
Oh, like a single player game.
Yeah, like
yeah, just
I'm thinking like a Hitman game where you have, or like even like a Far Cry game, because you know it's already that environment.
Far Cry's perfect.
You tag all the enemies and you set up how you want to kill each one. Like yeah,
You go around finding jaguars. But like Apocalypto should be a video game. I don't know. I just thought like, man, he's just pulling out all these things that like how you maybe do one of these in your life, but he's doing them all.
Yep.
And then he gets to the final villain, and then he like. I didn't see it coming, but it was like, oh yeah, he totally led him to one of his traps.
I didn't see that coming either. Yeah,
I called
it was so good.
Out loud before it happened.
Well,
did you?
He was charging at Jaguar Paw. I'm like, okay, how's he? Because in a one-on-one fight, I don't think Jaguar Paw is gonna win. He's a small dude.
Another arrow in the chest too.
So I'm like, how's this gonna play out? And then cornered. He knew where the trap was. That's just his knowledge coming through. Like he knows exactly where he needed to be in that moment. So yeah, that was a cool way to take out the main guy.
Two things that we're kind of skipping over. One, the wife and the kid in the fucking well area. I think it's just a reason to have him fight.
It's a MacGuffin. Right? Yeah, it's what he has to. It's what he's driving towards.
Kind of ridiculous. Like fucking monkeys are fighting over it, and one falls down. Just like we didn't need that scene, but that's like
I didn't mind that. Yeah, I didn't mind that. It's right. That's what I was thinking. How are they going to survive? I guess I don't know. It was only a couple days, but I didn't mind that just because it showed like the strength. It was just showing the strength
of her.
Right. Exactly.
Oh, she's badass.
Yep.
But I did like how the kid got injured. And she had to stitch him up, so he's like grabbing these beetles or something like that, and they clamp onto him, and then she snaps them off, and then I was like, whoa, that would be in the video game. You got to find ants to like heal yourself and shit.
Man, yeah.
I use that the whole to let my wife know what an easy time with childbirth you had. I don't want to hear you complaining about it. You didn't give birth in a hole during a rainstorm.
Of course, when it fucking starts downpouring is when she decides it's time to go into labor.
Yeah, cry me a river. Did you give birth in a hole?
Right.
No. All right, I don't want to hear about it.
She fucking she's up to her neck. She's got one kid in one arm. She's pushing a baby out, and she fucking scoops it out of the water. She's got a baby in the other arm. My question is,
and with the rising water.
My question is, okay, I know Jaguar Paw shows up at the last minute, but the water is up to their fucking necks. It's still downpouring. How did he get them all out of there?
The water just keeps rising.
Tread. What are you doing? Just tread.
You just keep, and you'll float to the top. By the time the water gets to the top, you're good. You just throw a rope down and just have her hold it for a little bit.
Grab onto the. They could have gotten out of that thing. Honestly, I was looking at it. I'm like, man.
Nah, it looks like it was pretty. Those walls are pretty steep and slippery.
She was pregnant.
I don't know if you're gonna crawl out of it, but you could certainly float your way out of it, and you can float your way out of anything.
You could float your way out of anything. Yeah.
Well, she fucked up trying to climb up before the boy. I'm like, send the
Right.
weight the one that's lighter, and if he falls, you can catch him.
Right. That's also
You
true.
want to land and break your neck.
Yeah, the kid ain't climbing that though.
And then the other thing I wanted to bring up was the ending. So I think it's kind of clunky, but I think it makes sense. But it's just too convenient after a lot of convenient things, and it's just like I want him to just fight those two guys off and just say, "This is my jungle." Like I didn't need the ships, but
No, it's like
it's just to say
that was
another your fight is still going. You're always gonna have to fight for your survival and.
Right. Yeah. There have been like different takes on the ending. Like that's part of the controversy of the movie. Some people didn't like the ending because like it viewed the Spaniards as like the saviors,
saviors of this horrible culture.
Exactly. Yeah. But I think it was a better ending because Jaguar Paw, I mean his wife's like, should we go with them? And he's like, no, we'll go to the forest and seek a new beginning. He's like, fuck that.
Smart.
I'm not having anything to do with them.
I did not fight through all that just to what? Yeah, no. Good call. Plus, you don't want smallpox. I mean, ew, gross.
Yeah.
No, what did they bring with them? Like tea and crackers too? Like he ain't
Yeah.
Go in the jungle and get some good food.
Yeah, it was a little too convenient for me, like you said. Just another thing to add to it, like, oh, of course, this is kind of how he gets out of it. But I think, it would have been better if he just had fought them off. And then it ended the same way with him finding his family and them going back. We didn't need the Spaniards to show up.
Right. All right.
I mean, it was a story, and we don't really get to go to Aztec, Mayan civilizations ever, really.
Right?
So
no,
cool
you
see.
don't.
This is the first movie I've ever seen of like this culture and civilization depicted. So,
yeah,
something different.
Why I picked it? It was just to be different. I didn't want you guys gonna be like, oh, I want an Apocalypto T-shirt. I want to get a dog named Apocalypto, and none of that. Nope. I know people aren't gonna like. See, we use the word enjoy sometimes in these movies, and like this is a movie I enjoy because it's so brutal that I can't wait for Jaguar Paw to get his revenge and save his family, because what the fuck is wrong with people, right? It's a great revenge story.
Different types of enjoyment.
But I'm not enjoying it like, oh my God, you remember when all the kids were left behind? Remember that? Remember the sound of a baby just like crying in the forest all by itself? Yeah. No, I don't enjoy that. But I do enjoy, like, this is what film can do. This is what movies can do. They can get you to feel shit, and I don't know.
My wife was like,
it's good. It's not all feeling happy.
My wife's mad at you, Brandon, because you've picked, this is like the third movie now where there is children in peril, or like a baby in peril. There was Under the Skin, The Witch, and yep, this. Was there another one?
I think the Northman, they took all the kids into a one building and then they burned them.
Oh yeah, okay, that counts.
But I didn't see that coming. Listen, I
Home Alone,
watch stuff like that.
Dude, yeah, it's even harder because we're all parents here, so it's hard to watch kids in danger, like life-threatening danger, and like just the baby crying in the background as the village is burning around them. I'm like, who's gonna go? That baby's just gonna fucking sit there and cry itself to death. It's just it's tough.
When they like rip the baby away from the mother and holding it by the leg up in the air, like dude.
Yeah.
I did have a note here with a star by it. Thank you for the undergarments in this movie. I don't know if those were historically accurate, but if there were not undergarments in this movie, they would have showed so much dick and balls.
Everybody was hanging brain back in the day.
There was a lot of buttocks in this movie.
There was a whole bunch, and if there wasn't for that one little strap, like, I don't know why. I don't know if they actually did that back in the day. Or they just covered up their junk. Just leave their beehole out there. But thank you, Mel Gibson, for adding that to the costume budget. So I did not have to look at that. Cause I don't think it would have been. I don't think it would have been as impactful if there was butthole all over the place in this movie.
You don't want historically accurate buttholes in your movie.
There's a historian that's just like, I can't watch it. They'd be naked. I can't watch it.
I don't
Like,
know
you
if
what,
that.
Larry, that we're okay with.
I'm assuming Mayans probably did have that type of stuff because they were a more advanced civilization. You
Yeah,
know,
they're
and
definitely
When you're
one of
living
the
in the
more
jungle,
advanced.
they were
You want
making cloth and
dirty
fabrics, and so they were probably making clothes.
yeah,
Right.
good. I'm glad that historical accuracy has been cleaned up. We can keep the conquistadors in there, and cover up your beeholes.
Cover up the bee holes. Okay,
Well, that's Apocalypto.
And that's
that
about
it
all I
is.
got here.
That it is.
All right. Well, like I said, we did it. It was an interesting one. Wanted to do something out of the huge. So let's get out of the jungle and have a little game of
We're
hold on,
waiting.
I got a name. I got a name for it. My wife came up with it. It is called I'm gonna quiz ya.
I'm gonna quiz you.
I'll explain when we come back in.
All right.
All right, I can't wait.
We are back. And like I said, I have a game that I had my wife come up with. It's called Gonna Quiz Ya.
I'm going to quiz ya.
IMA. It stands for
Oh.
Inca, Mayan, Aztec.
Clever. Okay.
So you guys know when I host an episode, I like when my co-hosts work together. So
I like the
basically,
historical quizzes too.
Yeah, it's funny because you kind of learn some shit, with
yeah.
these some of these episodes. So, I don't know when did we learn about these civilizations? Like middle school, like 7th,
Yeah.
8th grade, or something like
Yeah.
that.
That sounds
We learn
right.
all
Social
three at the
studies.
same time.
That sounds
Lump
right.
them all together. Yeah. So
There was a whole
That's been a
unit
while.
on, Mesoamerican civilizations.
Mesoamerican. Yeah, you got it exactly. Yes.
Thank you.
Exactly. So, well, maybe you learn. Maybe you remember some of it. Maybe you don't. So let's see if you can get. I have 5 questions. Let's see if you can get. Let's see if you can
3.
get 3 right.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you don't,
Oh no, we're being sacrificed to the gods.
you're being sacrificed to the gods. Heart popped out, head cut off, body kicked down the steps. People catching
Fuck.
your bouncing heads into some cool baskets. All right.
I think my
And
head
your
would
body will
roll
be
well.
dumped into a cornfield.
They play
Let-
soccer with my head. They would reuse mine.
Yeah, yours would be perfect for it. Keep that one. That's what is it? Bald bear or bald monkey?
Bald monkey.
yeah.
Bald monkey.
Okay. All right. So question number 1. All you got to do is tell me which civilization it was. Okay.
Okay.
But Mayan, Inca, Aztec.
Yep.
Got it. Easy enough.
Okay. Let's see. Let's see.
Mhm.
Who used a knotted thread system for their language? Now I can elaborate on this a little bit more. Most languages are written
Mm-hmm.
in some form.
Mm-hmm.
Be it etches in stone or tablets or literally hieroglyphics where you're drawing stuff or whatever. But one of these civilizations, they had thread, and all these threads would be next to each other, parallel to each other, and they would have these knots. Only until recently have we actually been able to kind of more or less understand what they actually been saying, but it's been a great
That seems
mystery
like
for
a
long
pain in
time.
the ass if you want to write a
It really
letter.
does. Well,
It's its own way of doing language. It's very
Damn, that's
it
crazy.
seems like a pain in the ass trying to figure out. I don't know how somebody figures
So
that
was it
shit
the
out.
Aztecs, the Incans, or the Mayans?
I'm gonna
Is it
vote
Incans or
out
Incas?
Incans. Yeah, I'm gonna vote out Mayans probably because I think they
'Cause we
did
didn't
have.
see it.
Well, I was just gonna say
Yeah.
I think they did have written language.
Well, I was thinking that with the Aztecs too. Didn't they have like some sort of hieroglyphics or some sort of?
That's what I'm thinking. I am leaning towards the Incans.
Yeah, because I think the Aztec were they the most sophisticated of the
I
three?
think it was the
they were the most
Mayans.
brutal.
I think
The
the
Aztecs were
Mayans
the
were more
Okay,
sophisticated.
I'm good with Inca.
Let's do it.
Inca is correct, gentlemen.
Yeah.
I love it. I love your brains. I love it. So good. You did a
Perfect.
good job. Yes. Okay. Cool. Next,
Mm-hmm.
out of these 3 civilizations, which one is the oldest?
Ooh.
That I don't know. The Aztecs came after the Mayans,
Did they? Okay.
correct?
I guess
I think.
I
I believe.
I'm
And-
almost leaning towards Incans again.
Yeah, me too. Because if they're making rope words, like that's pretty old school. Yeah.
That's old school.
Rope words.
Well, we know. I mean, from our research, we know that the Mayans were around in like the 900s ADs.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're right about the Aztecs. So I would say I'm leaning towards Incans again.
Yep. Agreed. Final
Incans
answer.
is not correct.
Oh no! Womp
Right.
womp womp.
So oddly enough, Dave, your thought process was right. You knew that the Mayans were older than the Aztecs.
Mm.
The Mayans are super old. They're from 2000 BC.
Really? They were around
Yes.
that long? They were around for almost 3,000 years?
Dude, they're old as shit. That's why people always like look at them like, man, there was like the Egyptians, the Romans, and like the Mayans.
Because the
Okay.
cities I was reading, like
Should have
the
known
cities
that.
they brought them to or whatever in the movie, there was tons of those cities like everywhere in the Yucatan Peninsula. Like they were all
Right.
over the place, which makes the fact that there was a little village out in the middle of nowhere harder to believe. But I didn't know that until I watched the
Okay.
history of.
All right. See?
So Mayans are the oldest.
We're relearning.
Aztecs-
We're relearning
Aztecs-
things.
Aztecs both the other ones really didn't last as long.
Yeah.
Only a few hundred years. 14th to 16th century for the Aztecs, and the Incans were 13th to the 16th. So
Wow.
it's basically when the Spaniards or whatever showed up. They're like conquistadors, or like
Fucked everything
That's
up.
crazy.
yeah. But yeah, so next question. Which one of these civilizations first discovered chocolate?
Oh.
God.
One of these guys figured out chocolate, and the world thanks them for it.
I feel like oh my God. I feel like I just like looked this up the other day. It's funny because my son was asking how do you make chocolate, and I think we looked it up, and I feel like there was something. I want to say like Aztec is ringing a bell, but
That's where I was leaning because I don't know. If the Incas weren't that as like advanced as the Aztecs, I think the Aztecs would be
the only
ones, because the Aztecs came after the Mayans too,
Right.
and maybe they figured that shit out after,
so I almost want to default to Mayans because like okay they're around 3,000 years, they got to have figured out how to make fucking chocolate. I don't know.
You figure there'd be some sort of like Hershey's office in Mexico where they originated it, or I don't
Right.
know, like that's our shitty American.
I was gonna say
milk
Mexican chocolate. Yeah, that's a thing.
The Aztecs were nomads. They were nomadic until they settled in like Mexican area.
Oh,
Yeah.
Maybe they picked up the
right.
bean,
The
and they brought
cacao.
it with them. I'm fine with Aztec.
Aztec? You gotta
Okay.
pick Aztec at some point.
Yeah.
All right.
Sure.
Well, that's correct.
Oh yeah.
It is. Yes, the Aztecs found it, man. They were moving around and grooving around, and they came across some chocolate. So
Sick. They just came across a chocolate bar in the woods.
Let's mush these beans up and eat them, yo.
So one of the episodes that we did had to do with like old stuff around the world. I forget what that episode was based on. Maybe the Gladiator episode. It might have been the Gladiator episode. But I talked about Machu Picchu.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes.
And you guys
I
had
do
to tell me,
remember
like,
this.
maybe it was Indiana Jones that episode. That's what it was, the Temple of Doom. You
Yeah.
guys had to tell me, like, I didn't give you the choices of the dates of when it was discovered.
Like
So
recent.
Machu Picchu was recently discovered, yeah, or relatively speaking, right? So, but who made it? Who the fuck got up all the way up there in those mountains and built that city?
Well, we know it wasn't the Mayans if it was more recent since they're the oldies.
And it's down like further in South America. It's down by like Peru, I believe. Or
It is
Or
Peru.
Chile.
It's
in
Peru.
that area. Because I do remember they had a mail system in one of these civilizations where dudes would just like marathon runners would sprint and then hand the letter to the next dude, and another next dude would run from spot to spot.
Man,
Damn.
I'm kind of leaning towards the Incas.
Yeah, I don't have a strong feeling
It's got to be Incas
between
or Aztecs, I
either
think.
Incas or Aztecs.
well, I gave you a hint earlier.
Yeah. I mean,
the Aztecs fucked a lot of stuff up, and I think they were a little more. I mean, they were a little more brutal and bloodthirsty. I don't know how that makes their architectural designs, but like, yeah, this is way up in the fucking mountains.
yeah. I'm fine. Yeah, if you want, yeah, I'm fine with whatever. I don't have a strong feeling either way.
The Inks? Is that
Yeah, let's go Incas. Sure.
Go Incas.
That is correct.
Nice.
We're not gonna be sacrificed.
Fuck yeah.
Well,
Best news of my day.
you got one. Oh wait, yeah. Okay, you're right. Three.
We got
Okay,
three.
you're good.
Yeah,
All right, well,
we
here's
only
your
got
last
one
question.
wrong. Yeah.
Here's your last question. This is a good one. Ready? Which one of these civilizations is still around today?
That
Or
I
I'll say,
don't know.
I'll clarify this.
I was gonna say
Please help me out.
like some.
Which one of these people from these
Okay.
civilizations is still around today? There are still Aztecs, Mayans, or Incans, or whatever, however you want to say it. They
Well,
still exist today.
Isn't it
They just
Mayans?
don't.
I was actually looking this up, and like there are like modern day Mayan people. I think it's
There you go.
Mayans. I think it's Mayans.
I'm with you. Sure.
Going with Mayans?
Yeah.
Eric, you are correct.
Because when I was
And
doing research for the movie, those were some of the
okay.
people that were bringing up the
some Mayans.
inaccuracies with this movie.
So when I got married to my wife, we got married on a cruise, a Carnival cruise. You know, we just couldn't
Mhm.
settle on a traditional wedding, so we got a bunch of people to go, friends and family to go with us for a week, and we went down south. And one of the stops, God, what country was that? It might have been in Mexico. I think it was St. Thomas area.
Mm-hmm.
But we had to like get on a bus. And the guy from our guide from Carnival Cruise was like, so you're gonna get on the bus, and you're gonna have a couple Mayans on the bus, and whatever, and then we're gonna go cave tubing with like a bunch of Mayans, and do some stuff in the trees, zip line, all that stuff. And
That's
I'm like,
awesome.
this sounds great. And I look at my wife, and I go like, what do you mean Mayans?
What are you talking about?
Like, are the Romans gonna be hanging out too? Like, what do you mean the Mayans? They're been gone for a long ass time. No, they're still around. They are still around. They're short. They are short people, but they are everywhere. I was blown away. It was like discovering.
Certainly not in St. Thomas. I don't think.
No, it wasn't St. Thomas, but I forget what country we were in. It must have been in Mexico.
It's a U.S. Virgin Island. I would say Mexico, probably somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a very drunken week, but anyways, yeah, I just learned something. I was just like, "Wow!" And I like literally, they got on the bus, and I'm like, literally, oh my god, it's like finding out elves are
the
real. I'm not saying
Mayans.
it today, but they were like, "Oh my god, they're just so
They're like, oh,
different."
you are so white.
Yeah, right. And they're like, "Oh, here are the Americans all
Right.
reacting that we exist." Fucking white Americans are stupid. Yeah. So that was cool. So I handcrafted those questions. I thought I did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Getting those for you
Congrats.
Guys. So that was
Very
not
good.
some-
I like
that was a fun one.
Game.
tight. Yeah. So I spent the day looking and trying to learn some shit, but I would encourage people to learn the differences between those three civilizations, anyways, just because we kind of glossed over it when we were like 7th grade, getting boners and zits and stuff like that, trying to learn about that stuff. And go back and learn that stuff. It's pretty cool actually.
There's a lot of people out there.
There's a lot of people out there.
A lot of people did a lot of different stuff. It's not just all, U.S. inventors and European inventors.
I was gonna say,
it's not like the Egyptians and the Romans, and then that was it.
No.
There's
I mean,
a whole bunch of
there's
really smart civilizations out there.
There's still fucking influence today, with like the calendar and shit, and like the fucking math. A lot of the mathematic stuff from the Mayans. So they were smart people.
The Incans were the first Incas. They were the first ones to come up with the concept of zero and like decimals and stuff like that, which is really cool.
Yeah.
For a civilization that was only around for a couple hundred years, like damn, even the Greeks and Romans didn't come up with that,
Yep.
Or like the Middle East, I think, or really like a lot of math came from there, So, yeah, super cool stuff. And that look into the knotted thread language.
Words,
yeah.
That's that's really cool. Never heard of that.
I think AI is starting to like analyze and come up with like on the fly, like some kind of language off of it. So that's what they're trying to do. I don't know. Pretty cool stuff. All right, we are done talking about Apocalypto. That was a hell of a movie. It was very different from the usual brutal, but we got through it, and we're live. And you guys did a good job with. I'm gonna quiz you a game. So, Eric, why don't you take us home?
All right. Well, if you want to follow the nomads on our journeys through the forests of Mesoamerica, or wherever through the lands of fucking Baldur's Gate,
Fantasy,
Korea, yeah, wherever, you can follow us at Nomads of Fantasy, Twitter and Instagram at the Nomads of Fantasy, on TikTok, twitch.tv/Nomads of Fantasy. If you want to watch our episodes live streamed. Also, I think I'm gonna make Friday streams, just hanging out, streaming a game, a regular thing. So, you guys can pop in.
By popular demand.
Yeah, right. If you guys are available, pop in for a game. If not, then I'll play something solo. But I think it would be fun to have just a running thing every week. Come hang out, play some games, hang out with us in the Discord, nomadsoffantasy.com/Discord. If you want to keep up on the schedule and all the new episodes, merch, all that good stuff, head over to the nomadsoffantasy.com. But I think other than that, that's all I got for you boys this week. Next week, we're doing a catch-up, so that should be fun. Catch up on some games, movies, what we've been playing, watching, all that good stuff. But other than that, as always, safe travels, nomads.
Apocalypto.
It's so much better if somebody said it during the eclipse.
Mel Gibson pops in at the end.
He should have been one of the Spaniards on the boat.
I was looking at like some of the production